Yes. Back again. You know what it is, y'all. Back again. Motown Philly back again with another short shot. With a short shot. Yo, what up? Notorious JRD in the building. Hello. You know the universal greeting of the JNN Jamar Nicholas Network. Well, hello. How are you? Good to see you. Let me bring you closer to me. Well, hello, JRD. How are you? My fine feathered friend. What up, Matt Ringo? Hello. A sip of coffee for the Ringo dynasty. First sip of the night. Come on, you guys. You know how this works. Put your sippers up. Oh, it's the return of the coffee hound. And if you know your coffee break history, you would know that the coffee hound mug was given to me by the Ringos. This was one of Mike's favorite mugs, and now it's in my possession, and I treat it with a lot of love. Yo, what up, Fletch? How are you? EJB, well, hello. Let's see what's going on. Jared D says, I almost titled the first chapter of the book I'm working on this weekend, Road to Notorious. Hey, man, it's yours. When you were christened with a nickname, you can do what with it what you will. Jim Luhan, yes, sir. Yo, let's get another sipper. I'm watching you guys with the sippers tonight. I ran out of coffee almost last week because I was sipping too much. Sip of coffee for my man Jim Luhan, one of my favorite animators. From the Coffee Hound mug. How are you? Oh, some love in the chat for Pencil to Pencil. You guys, Pencil to Pencil came back last night. You believe that? It was a fantastic episode. We got some new changes. Maybe we'll talk about that tonight. Yo, Mem, what's good? I see you in the building. Woot woot. Can I get a what? How are you? It's good to see you. Bros, what up, Bros? Bros has saved a couple of sips of coffee for the show. Just a couple sippers. A couple sippers. Fantastic. Matt says it was great to have Pencil to Pencil back last night. Yes, thank you so much. Also, Notorious JRD says, great show yesterday. My apologies for missing it live. Conley is a great addition. Yes, he is. For some of you guys who have no idea what I'm talking about, last night, Pencil to Pencil, your favorite pandemic podcast, is back again. We were taking a long winter's nap. The show that started as a brain trust between myself, scholastic author Jamar Nicholas, and my good buddy Michael Manley, Master Chief of Comic Illustration. If you don't know who Mike Manley is, you can't call yourself a comic book fan. And also, our third best bud, Brett Blevins. And if you don't know who Brett is, go soak your head in a bucket of water. Let me I got to put Team Water out when I say that. Decided we were going to do a live podcast streaming version of Draw Magazine. And since then, it's been like something years, maybe we're going on 2 years, 2.5 years, something like that. There's a lot of content back on the YouTube channel. If you're on the Facebook joint, we got more episodes before we got to YouTube. A bounty of blessings are archived here. We've run the gamut. We ran the table of amazing guests. But somebody who's always been in the background, behind the scenes, on the boards, on the ones and twos, is our man Steve Conley. Steve Conley designed the Pencil to Pencil logo. It's fantastic. I'd still be there trying to draw it if that was my job. Did a perfect job. He was also a special guest. Fantastic cartoonist, fantastic visionary, dare I say futurist, and also a best bud. And what he brings to this new chapter of Pencil to Pencil is kind of like, and I said it on the thing last night, maybe like a modernity to what we're doing. Like we all kind of cover these different kind of angles of cartooning, and Steve is definitely doing new stuff. He's got a bumping web comic that's on Webtoons on his own site and some tapas, I think. And he knows the ins and outs of publishing like nobody's business. How could he not be an asset to the show? So thank you so much, JRD. Appreciate that. Anybody else have anything to add about about last night's episodes? I'd love to hear it. Yo, what's up, Vincent? Great to see you. Vincent is another magnificent cartoonist. And as we all know, it's National Cartoonist Day. You know what that means? Find a cartoonist and kiss them. Oh, I don't know. That's how that works. But yeah, it is National Cartoonist Day. National Cartoonist Day. It's also Cinco de Mayo. I don't know if those two things are connected, but we'll roll with it. Um, and to that, I thought it might be interesting if we maybe talked a little bit about cartooning. Um, I would love if we could maybe talk about some of our favorite cartoonists. And I didn't say comic book dudes. I didn't say comic strip artists. I said cartoonists, whatever that means. Um, that's right. Sip a margarita for cartoonists. Paul Pate, what up, Paul Pate? Paul Pate, have a seat. Welcome to group. I think this would be a perfect day to talk about some of your favorite cartoonists. Let's do a top three, and that might be hard, right? Because you think about just like the the just like the thick crust of cartooning. I don't know, and how many people have touched it and made such advances on an art form, or maybe it's just a personal preference. I know probably if we did a top three, somebody's going to say Jack Kirby. Somebody's going to say, I don't know, depending if you're a 90s baby, like, I don't know, Jim Lee, you know what I mean? And I don't know. So I'd love to hear your top three. It could be more than that, but let's just keep it simple. So let's hear about some of your top three cartoonists of all time. On my Instagram today, I put a picture of Peo, the I think he's Belgian. I'm not exactly sure. I think so. Uh, Creator of Les Schtroumpfs or the Smurfs. See, I'm worldwide, baby. We can do this all day. So let's rattle some of those off and we'll talk about it. Yeah, what up, Steven? Steven says today is also National Day of Prayer. I love all three of these: Cinco de Mayo, cartoonist, and prayer. Yeah, I think they all line up pretty nicely, don't they? JRD bringing down the room. Timing. The book I'm working on is actually part archive of my webcomic and part memoir of how my start cartooning got me out of a deep depression. Oh, that's great. It's good to hear. That's the power of visual narrative. Matt comes off with a strong three. This is like NBA Jam of cartoonists. Who? There you go. Who's your NBA Jam of cartoonists? Who is your three? So you can take two. You can swap one out. So Matt says Bill Watterson of Calvin and Hobbes, Charles Schultz. So that's a tight pick. Walt Kelly. Sip of coffee for Walt Kelly. I got to get my sippers up for that. If you don't know who Walt Kelly is, Walt Kelly is the magnificent mind behind Pogo, one of the classic strips. And I have a Pogo thing somewhere. I'm not going to dig for it. And also, if you like Bone, pause. Yeah, where's my jaw at? I just made myself laugh. Where is it? If you like Bone, then you are by proxy a Walt Kelly fan because Walt Kelly was a seminal part of Jeff Smith's uh, uh, cartooning love. So if you've never read a Pogo strip, you should go back and check it. Beyond just the masterful storytelling and lettering, he also, well, I just kind of spoiled it. He was like maybe one of the first people in the comic strips to use typography as a voice. So a lot of his characters in the Okefenokee Swamp had different letter types for their voices. So good stuff. Yo, Trey, what up, Trey? Good to see you, my man. Yo, I left you a message on the joint. Go check it out. Um, yo, Kirk's Pencils. What's up, Kirk's Pencils? Kirk's Pencils, thanks for joining us. Kirk's Pencil says hello. Well, hello, the universal greeting of the J and N Jamar Nicholas Network. Welcome to Coffee Break. Kirk's Pencil says hello. My first is Charles Schultz. Really got me paying attention. Okay. All right. I'm going to have to dig through these if you have more, Kirk. Let's see who else is going on here. Paul Pate. Paul Pate says my faves. Keith Knight. Give Keith Knight his roses. Facts. We could talk about Keith Knight for a whole episode. Bill Watterson and Frank Miller. That's a cool NBA Jam roster right there. Oh, Keith's heating up. He's on fire. Boom shakalaka. Nice, Paul. That's a nice lineup. Okay. JRD, who's your three? JRD says, I always have a soft spot for Walt Kelly, Schultz, and Johnny Hart. A little BC action. Johnny Hart is underrated. I think Johnny Hart is underrated. And, I love that we could talk about comic strips all day. And like these names, I just rattle them off like they're basketball players. Like we could just do this. You know what I mean? That's fantastic. And that's like I got the goosies for a second just thinking about it's like, oh, I know exactly who you're talking about. I don't even have to think hard. I have to Google it. I know exactly who we're talking about. It's cartooning right there. Also, I also love Brooke Breathitt. Breathitt might be in my lineup in Watterson, but it was the first three I mentioned who really grabbed me as a kid. Okay, all right. Paul Pates put in a switch at halftime. He switched out one of his players. An NBA Jam at halftime, you got to put more quarters in, and you get to swap out your team. Pause. Paul Pate says, "Oh wait, Keith Knight, Klaus Janson, and Frank Miller. Nice picks." Yo, Suze, what's up? Suze has entered the chat. Good evening, caffeines. No one bought any decaf up in here. No, ma'am. And because the Queen of Coffee Break just entered the chat, we got to put up a Seuss pose. Get ready, you guys. Get your elbows ready. Wow, pretty as a picture. How are you, Seuss? Seuss says, "Good evening, caffeines. No one brought any decaf up here, did they? No decaf up in this Humpty Dumpty. No decaf up in this Major Falcon, this Mickey Ficky, and any other made-up curse word that they put on network television when they had to edit out the cusses." Who did Shoe? Oh, I see his signature in my. Oh, damn it! Shoe was me. I can never understand Shoe, but I loved that cartoon. That's straight editorial cartooning right there. Somebody get back to me. I forget who did Shoe. You bought that one out of the blue. I love it. Vincent said Ollie Harrington, Maury Turner, Sergio Aragonés. I have a Maury Turner strip over here in my studio. Those are really great picks. I love this. This is a great little game. And here's the thing: nobody's wrong. Yes, JRD McNally. McNally did Shoe, and wasn't McNally also doing editorial at the same time. That's like my man Jim Borgman. Yo, sip of coffee for Jim Borgman. He used to hang around here a little bit. I don't know. He probably got off of Facebook. Let's get a sip of coffee for Jim Borgman. Um, I believe he was an editorial cartoonist at the Cincinnati, what is it, the Register, whatever the name of that paper is, and also was doing Zits. He's still doing Zits. And if you recall, we had Jim on an old episode of Pencil to Pencil. Fantastic guy. He's a great guy. Him and Jerry Scott, they're great. And I also love that I can say that I keep company. I walk the clouds. How does that go? I walk among giants. So good. Trey says, "Are we staying who our favorite artists are?" We're talking about cartoonists, Trey. Yeah. So name your top three NBA Jam lineup cartoonists. Did McNelly do pluggers? Oh wait a minute, hold on. I'm out of order here. I missed a bunch of people. Yeah, okay. Jared says McNelly also did pluggers briefly that started in the Times Dispatch before Jeff passed. Okay. Kirk's pencil with a strong three. Frizz Freeling and bring the rear up. Joseph Roland Barbera. I like it. Not Hannah, but Barbera. I love it. Oh, Gahan Wilson. Coffee Hound. I also have to put a little extra in the cup because you got to represent when you pull out the coffee hound. Yeah, I mean, Steven says Waterson. Okay, Todd McFarlane. Okay, and Masamune Shiro. No, that list is hot. I'm surprised nobody else brought up any mangaka because I'm doing Tezuka. I don't even bro. I don't even know why we didn't have to bring mine up. I'm gonna do mine. So I'm gonna say Gary Trudeau, Tezuka. Hmm. I might have a tie. It might be Burke Breathitt because Breathitt was my guy, and I was a real deep Bloom County stan. But yeah, I think the easy thing would be for it to be Schultz. But I'll Hank Ketchum. What was I thinking? All right, let's see who else is. Yeah, yeah, it's hard to do three, right? You got to really work. Yo, thank you, fam. I appreciate you. All right, Frederick Bean Avery, Dawood Anabwile, and Bill Watterson. Wow, I love it. I was going to say Dawood because Brother Man is such a giant part of my beginning in comics because it had been 91, 92, 90, something like that when the Brother Man comic books started coming out, and they blew my mind wide open because also him being a Philly cat and him drawing kind of you would call it cartoony realistic, almost like a Mort Drucker Mad Magazine style with just all black people. And his characters look like people I would see walking down the street, and I was like, "Yo, you can do comics like this? Is this a thing?" And it kind of changed everything for me. So I almost feel like we should do a top 10, but we're not going to do that. But yeah, good picks, Trey. Good picks. All right, now this is getting off the rails. Let's just keep it to cartooning. Matt said I would have guessed Ketchum. Yeah, and you know what? I've been peeping Ron Ferdinand, who's doing the Dennis the Menace strips lately. We're friends on Facebook, and I want to try to get him on pencil to pencil. But just I'm a big Dennis the Menace guy. Also, George Gately, right, who does Heathcliff. My man Andrew Neal. Andrew, you watching? There's a giant Heathcliff mark. Uh, so I'd love to talk about Heathcliff. That's great. So yeah, and it's funny. I took a picture. I was doing some supermarket shopping last weekend, and I ran into my man Terry Laban, fantastic cartoonist who did Eno and Plum back in the day. That comic. He also did a syndicated newspaper strip. Oh shit, Terry, what was the name of that strip? It just fell out of my head. It was something city, right? Ah, too much, too much. Um, but yeah, Terry and I live in the same part of town. And I run into him from time to time. He's a great guy, and he's a font of cartooning knowledge too. So what I think is really cool about us even talking about this is when I grew up, you don't know any of these people, right? And especially for a kid growing up in West Philly or whatever, this none of this even seemed real, right? Oh, I love the comic strips. I love the comic books that I got from the corner store with the covers ripped off, but I didn't know anybody. Like it, you could have said an alien drew all this stuff, but then to like grow up and start studying the masters and finding out these people exist, and they have a lineage, and then getting to be in a point where you get to rub elbows with them, or hell, even be one of them, is really it's really a great thing. So if we can celebrate the art and lifestyle of cartooning, because you can't call it a job, right? Cartooning, it's in you, right? That kind of creative thrust. You don't retire from being a cartoonist, right? You drop dead on your table, and that takes a commitment. So thanks, guys. Oh yeah, we're talking about the Dawood interview on Pencil to Pencil. Go back and watch that, y'all. JRD says Heathcliff is always preferred to the to Garfield. Heathcliff was I love the Heathcliff cartoon from the 80s. Heathcliff was just like a hood dude, and he rolled with a crew. And like Heathcliff just like he liked to fight. Heathcliff is underrated. I love Heathcliff. Yo, Fletch, what up, Fletch? Fletch says Waterson. And you know what? I could have said Waterson because Calvin and Hobbes, of course, everybody. Now he changed the game in a couple of ways. And I loved his loose inking style, and his watercolors were amazing. Just the way he was just handling his whole universe is fantastic. Larson and Tony Didderlezi. What does Tony Didderlezi do? I got to give a sip of coffee to my man Dave Blazik, who does loose parts, loose parts. Right. I was thinking loose ends, the '90s house music group, who does a fantastic single panel strip. Vince says Buck Brown and Doug Sneed were favorites as well, given my chosen artistic path. Yeah, we could talk about this all night. But let's do an ID. I would hate to alienate people who aren't dyed in the wool cartoonists, and they're just like, I don't know who you're talking about. All right, so let's get those IDs together. You're watching Coffee Break with JN, with your boy JN. Some call me a gangster of love. Some call me Maurice. Others call me Captain Scholastic. And also the captain of the ship, John Luc Picard. Well, hello. Engage. What happens here on Coffee Break with JN? Well, you get to hang out with me in my studio. This is where I work. And Thursdays at 9 p.m. EST, the greatest man alive, the Act Nicholas 10, yeah. I push away from the table and I brew a cup of coffee and I turn this thing on and I drink that coffee and I run my mouth. And tell him, Trey, tell him. And when I'm out of coffee, video over. That's my favorite thing. Video over. And while I got these up on the screen, and I put this at the beginning of with the running Leon. If you want to see more of me, if Coffee Break with JN isn't enough, if Pencil to Pencil isn't enough, consider joining my Patreon. That's patreon.com/ Jamar Nicholas. For the price of a soft pretzel, well, strip of soft pretzels, you can go behind the wall of secrecy and see what goes on in my studio. And I also do a bi-weekly podcast with my best hermano, Mike Hawthorne, comic book super genius, like Wild E. Coyote, super genius. Mike Hawthorne is Mike Hawthorne from Deadpool fame, from Spider-Man fame, who's drawing Wonder Woman: Evolution right now. and also my favorite comic book of his, Hysteria, going back in time, Indie Cred All Stars Stand Up. You get to watch two old friends kick it and answer your questions every 2 weeks, but you'll only see it on the Patreon, John. So what are you waiting for? And while I'm at it, let's give a GLO. You know about GLOs. Good looking out. Good looking out to my $2 tier of supporters who just like to see their name scroll by on the screen. They just want to see the crawl, bro. And I will answer the call. I'm so very fortunate that I have so many GLOs. I had to put on another crawl. That's right, crawl 2, Electric Boogaloo. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you all. Some of you might see your names down there. Thank you so much. All right, let's get back to it. So, let me see what I missed in the John. Fletch says Tony Ditterleasy got his start drawing for D&D Planescape. Now he's mostly known for the Spiderwick Chronicles. Oh, I'm not super familiar. Expensive Patronus. I haven't talked about our Patronuses in a while, but I'm glad you brought that up. And let's give a shout out to the Patronuses. More in general, let's give a shout out to the caffeine. You know who you are, caffeines. The friends and regulars, not decaf, right, Suze? A coffee break with JN. You people are my day ones. JRD is a day one. JRD was the first person to join my Patreon. That's why I call him number one. Engage, aka Riker, aka guy who sits in chairs funny, and as Jean-Luc Picard, the captain of the starship. You know how this works. You give JRD his credits. You give him his what did the Ferengis do? Give him his gold press latinum. You know how to do this. Run the jewels. I'm all over the place tonight. But yeah, I've been thinking about cartoonists just to kind of put a pin in this, and I think we said on it may have been it ain't hard to tell. We're talking about American cartooning versus other countries' cartoonists and how the art form is more respected in different places. We know about how serious it is with mangaka. Like everybody, loves. Well, there are people who don't like manga, but there are people out there who may just think, "Oh wow, these guys can put out volumes and volumes and volumes of art. Why are those Americans so lazy?" But you know that the Japanese production system is entirely their studio system is entirely different than how we make comics in the States. So if you're ever interested in that, you should read Bakuman, which is fantastic. Even people who don't really feel manga like that, if they're cartoonists, they probably have Bakuman on the shelf. I tried to watch the anime and I wasn't really feeling it. You got to read the manga, and I think there's only 20 of them. But I was talking about European cartoonists and how there was a point. This is maybe 10 years ago, something like that. We were in France for a little bit, and just seeing how they celebrated cartoonists and cartooning was amazing. I visited a 2-building big Hugo Pratt exhibit. We're in the tube, is that what they call it? The subway with these giant walls that kind of like go like that. And it had giant curved posters of there was a Peyo exhibit. I didn't get to see it. Yeah, what up, Jamal? Right? It's a quick read. Only 20. I mean, it's not like Naruto. There's like 3,000 of them. No, One Piece, right? Um, and it's like this is a grand exhibit. Please see Master Peyo, and kind of give some love to Les Trumps. And I'm like, yo, we can't get that in the States. And it's just like, and you could see how the art form has given joy to people across the world. But America is just always kind of like, ugh. And I just wonder, I don't know if any of you have a thought about that. Like, why do you think it's like that here? I'd love to discuss that. And even like I'm a big Tezuka fan. I watch a couple of documentaries about him, and there's one where it's probably the same beat up documentary where they're like giving him these prizes, and they give him this like bouquet of flowers, and this little kid choir is singing the theme to Mighty Atom, and I'm like, they love it. Do you think it's the same here and I'm missing something? I'd love to talk about that. And I wonder, oh, what's this say? JRD, what are you saying? JRD says, how about a shout out for our brethren, Steve Conley, Mark Mariano, John Gallagher, Don Griffin, and Jay and himself. I like that. I could sip it of that. Guys, put your sippers up for our local cartoonist union 406. I love it. Thank you. That's very nice of you. That's kids of comics out here doing the heavy lift, the hard work. Thank you so much for that, JRD. I appreciate that. Yo, Bill, what up, Bill? Good to see you. Oh man, I'm late for group. Yeah, you had to park down the street, bro. Yeah, the Mariano sip of coffee. Where my sippers at? I just put my sippers away. Sip of coffee for the Leaping Mariano brothers, Chris and Mark. My brothers. Love those guys. And it's just like, I didn't start it, but I'm, part and parcel of this movement, especially like there's a lot of people trying to just kind of get comics into the hands of kids. How pure is that? Right? So if you take kind of like the essence of Kids of Comics, I know it started with a small group of people. Shout out to Harold Buckles. Shout out to Jim Gownley. Shout out to my man John Gallagher. Shout out to me. Right? And the Marianos just doing real heavy lift, just trying to be out here in these streets, making sure kids uh discover the love of drawing comics and reading comics and buying comics. And one day they're going to be the kids are going to be, propelling this forward. And if we're not feeding that, if we don't feed that muscle, it's going to wither. So while you're in the comic book store going like, yo, where's a new Blood Claw? Like, go buy some Archies and give them to the kid down the street. Do something. Don't wait. I don't feel like we have that much time. We don't have a lot of time left. JRD says, visual arts are the starving arts. Where's my man Sam Max? You can sing for your supper. You can act in any theater, but drawing, that's just a hobby. Did the Debbie Downer voice. Meow, meow. There's no money in that, according to public perception. Facts. Paul Pate says, I can't speak to the state of comics and cartoons in the U.S. without going political. Got to keep my mouth shut there. Tell him, Vincent. Say it louder for those in the back. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Bill. Bill says, shout out to Jamar getting amazing feedback from librarians for Leon. Yo, I didn't bring this up, but yeah, was it last week? Did we talk about this? Maybe we did. 2 weeks ago already, I was in Texas putting Galleys of Leon Extraordinary directly in the librarians' hands. They loved it. They love it. This is fantastic. This is what it's all for. Today, I just got an amazing email from a librarian that I met in Texas who gave the galley to actually a kid named Leon. And he ran around the school showing everybody that he knows the author. And like, come on, man. Like, does that not make you feel good? Cut that out. Y'all in this pre-band stuff. That's not funny. This is what it's all for. And I again, like it goes without saying, me walking down the street, tripping over Terry LeBand. I know a lot of cartoonists, but I also know a lot of cartoonists who could care less about drawing stuff for kids. kids stuff. I've had people come up to me on a reel and go, "Yo, you is that all you do?" Right? Like, what's up? What's up with that? Like even other people who love comics don't respect kids comics or kids. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I think there's a deeper conversation to be held there. But, you know, National Cartoonist Day. Steven says, I give out comics at my pad on Halloween. Yes. Makes my house a spot for the kids. But as you said, got to feed the future. You got to feed it. You got to. You got to baby bird that. Well, maybe not necessarily like spitting into a kid's mouth. That's gross. But yeah, you get it. Yeah. Bill also says, them folks that look down on kids cartooning are uncultured Philistines. You dirty gum hustler. Paul Pate says, I feel like doing it for kids would be more difficult than others. Well, it's challenging, right? But I also think I don't know. I feel like people who don't connect with kids maybe forgot what it was like to be a kid, right? And not everybody can recall that, right? Not everybody can go, oh, yeah, I remember how that made me feel when I didn't have any options, or I felt like I didn't have a voice, or I felt like my voice wasn't strong enough, or there wasn't someone to speak up for me, or there wasn't someone to protect me. I think a lot of us remember those feelings very strongly. So it always kind of makes me cringe when it's just kind of like people tamp that down and just, act like it didn't exist. Also kind of messes me up that I know people who have children who we're all that same age but act like they forgot what it was like to be a kid when they say stuff to their kids or like my kids wouldn't do that. But again, I was talking not too long ago about what I think made what I also think is fueling this nostalgia for the 80s, and maybe it's starting to die down again. It's going to flip to the 90s again, and it's going to go back to the 80s again. Because I think past the 90s, nothing original has happened. And I kind of doubt some of the 90s there. Is that was the last period in time where kids could just explore. So, like the whole idea of kids on bikes. There's a role playing game called Kids on Bikes where you do the whole Stranger Things, ET, go explore, find a dead body in the woods stuff. A lot of people, there's generations of people who missed that childhood. All us Gen Xers in the building grew up in that kind of space for good or evil. I was a latchkey kid. After school, I came home to a dark apartment and I keyed in. And we talked about this. You had specific things that you were supposed to do when you got home, like not answer the door if the landlord is knocking. Turn all the lights off and hide if the landlord's knocking on the door. Don't touch the stove, all that kind of stuff. To now, where I know young parents who couldn't fathom let their kid go to walk to school on their own, let alone get on the bus by themselves or get on the subway by themselves. We did all of that stuff. Because mom's got to go to work. Nobody's going to drive you to school. You better take your butt to school. So it just seems like such a weird disconnect for people to not remember what it was like to be a kid. I'm doing my job. That's why I get paid the big bucks, Paul Pete. That's why I write kids' books. Thank you for that. Yo, what up, K Dub? Sip of coffee for K Dub. You know that's my man. Stunt Ken in the building. Where's my John at? Man, I got too many. All right. Sip of coffee for Stunt Ken. You know the boss, Stunt Ken. What's up, bro? All right, let me see what I missed. I was in here. I was monologuing. Let me see what I missed. JRD says it was an uphill battle with the owner of my shop to pull money from the Zenoscope buying budget. Not kidding. To buy more comics for kids for our shop. Right? It just seems like why would we do that? Yeah, bro. I was trying to take my nephew to Free Comic Book Day this Saturday. Yo, Cop Max Meow, Cat Crusader, Free Comic Book Day joint. I'm so proud of Gallagher. Go get that. Um, Oh, you guys are talking to each other. Matt says some kid reading Leon today will be inspired to become a cartoonist in a dozen years ago, years or so. Facts. I'm banking on it. That's crazy. JRD shout out the VIPs in the building. There's a whole lot of superstars up in here tonight. Notorious JRD says, "Hey Kenny, how are you doing?" That's for Kenny. We got some VIPs here tonight. Where's Jerry Kraft? Yeah, where's Jerry Kraft at? JRD says, "My first free comic book day book. You have a free comic book day book? How come you didn't tell me?" Comes out this weekend. I worked on Max Meow. Oh, there you go. I worked on Max Meow with John Gallagher, so pick it up. I'm so proud of John. When somebody on the team wins, the whole team wins. A rising tide lifts all sails, yo. I believe in that. I believe that. Yeah, I don't. I think that might come back, right? K Dub says, "Talk about nostalgia, JN. I finally caught on and up to speed with Stranger Things, and man, that brought me back to that feeling of the '80s and being a kid. Yeah, it was strong. The first season of Stranger Things was so good. I can't say the same for the rest of it. I have this and you know what? Maybe we could talk about this real quick and then undo another idea. One thing that burns my toast, that chafes my dish, are really ingenuitive, fresh ideas that get kind of milked and dried out. Like a perfect example is 24 with my man Kiefer Sutherland. Uh, 24 was on so long. We in the house we stopped calling it 24. We called it "Open the Gate." This week on 24, Kiefer Sutherland yells at somebody. 24 was a fantastic idea the first time. After 24 hours of the first season went off, that should have been it. There shouldn't have been 24 season two. What's that, 48? You know what I mean? It's just like, and I understand that these people have to make money and you have to bleed the stone. But like I lose interest. Lost was the same way. Name a tent pole pause show that should have just ended after the first season and it didn't. And I can't, because it's just like, how what am I committing to? And Stranger Things is a perfect example of that. Those kids do not need to be full mustachioed teenagers and young adults. It should have been little kids, a little kid with the bleeding nose and the egos. Be done. I don't know if you guys agree with it. Bill says 24, aka Kiefer Sutherland, yelling, "I'm running out of time." Oh, it was funny. The last season of 24, where they had the black dude, and I called that. His name was Black Bauer, and that broke it for me. That totally jumped the shark, because nowhere you're going to see a black dude running down the street with a pistol and nobody's not going to call the cops with him, even if he's a federal agent. It's just, I can't believe it. That's my suspension. Disbelief runs out right there. A federal agent, yeah. Put your hands on behind your head. Come on. Um, Bill says Free Comic Book Day is the day where some kiddo is going to find something different and they're going to want more. That's what it's supposed to be. So, next time you have Free Comic Book Day and there's a bunch of like neckbeards like arguing over like a bongo comic, tell them to politely move aside and let the kids come in. Move aside and let the man go through Super Bon Bon. Vincent, you show your age, bro. JRD says US TV needs to emulate British TV. Of course it does. Put your show up, and if it's a hit, celebrate. Leave it alone. Don't do a sequel unless you can guarantee a season follow-up just as good. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Stuntkin says, personally, I've kept and embraced that side, and it helps connect that side with kids like my nieces and how I expose them to comics. It makes me feel like I nurture and encourage the child in them. Yo, you got to feed your inner child, yo. And it just seems like the older I get, the harder that lesson is to pass on to people. You know, I don't know. Like I have a couple of buddies who you kind of wear that with pride. You embrace that. Oh wow, you collect action figures. Yeah, I'm a big kid. I think that's dope. I don't think there's anything cool about acting like you don't like stuff because you're too what? Come on. And like what kind of cartoonist would we be if you don't embrace your inner child, right? How can you write books and stories about kids if you hate kids or if you hated you know what I'm saying? Like I think you have to keep connected to that. And I talk about protecting your imagination all the time. And again, if you don't have kids or if you draw blood claw books or whatever, and you're at the spot, please don't put your nose up at kids comics or kids graphic novels. Buy some of that stuff if it looks dope and you read it and you give it to the kids down the street. See, I got all upset. Jardi says, my favorite British show only ran 4 seasons for 34 episodes, total over 6 years. Flash is about to go to season 9, I think, and could have ended after season 2. I watched the first season of Flash, and I was like, but I'm a tough cookie, so I don't know. Bill says the thing that bums me about free comic book days is speculators who suddenly snatch up copies for eBay, aka stray dogs, last year or so. Paul, I'm gonna just leave that there. All right, let's do another ID. How many have I done of these already? You're watching Coffee Break with JN with your boy JN, Philadelphia's favorite son, and also Johnny Carson. That's wild stuff. Why do I have all these nicknames? Why do I have all these things going on? Well, some may say it's undiagnosed ADHD. I think it's part of my interesting personality. Beyond just being a cartoonist, besides just drawing stuff and making books for the world, I like to share by talking. I could have been a psychiatrist. What's going on with you? How are you doing? How was your week? Did you flunk that test that you were studying for? You know what? That sucks. Got to try harder next time. I like to connect. I like to build bridges. I like to network. There are probably people in this chat right now that I've introduced to other people, and other people in this room know each other from this. That's what the JNN Jamar Nicholas Network is. It's not just me going, look at me, look at my face. That's my face. It's not even about that. I mean, it doesn't hurt that I'm a handsome dude, like, real rap. Oh, hold on, I got to do real rap. Right. But it's just, it's just kind of is what it is. And I've learned over the years to just lean in to my gifts. Lean into your gifts, y'all. If there's something you're good at, then do that shit. Right? People think you're weird. I think that's dope. Be the dopest person you can be. So what happens here? You get to hang out with me, Jamar Nicholas, cartoonist in good standing, and watch me drink coffee and run my mouth. Where's Trey? Tell him, Trey, when this video, what about a coffee video over? Video over. Right, you get what it is. Who else can I shout out? Let me give him a shout out to my man JRD with his merchandise shop, his gimmick table, as we call it in pro wrestling vernacular, who has the Is It Thursday Yet coffee mug and t-shirt and tote bag and all that. Go cop that. Yo, Jared, do you need to give us a coupon code or something? So, like, if you put in Notorious, you get 5% off or something like that. Make that happen. Make it so. Also, I have my own shop. I have a threadless store where I have a couple of Leon designs. Go check it out. I don't pimp that enough. But there's some good stuff. The quality is really good. I have some myself. You couldn't tell. It's not like an iron-on joint or something. Like, it's real good quality. So cop that. All right, what I'm missing in chat. We're going to start wrapping it up soon. Thank you, sir. Ooh, who said Mike Peters? I love Mother Goose and Grimm. All right, coffee check. Thanks. Thanks, Jamal. All right, I got to take you off the screen. And then I got to put this on the screen. All right, it's time for reverse Drake. You know what reverse Drake means? Started from the top, now we here. You're not going to like this, guys. I just got alert that coffee break just started. I've been on here for an hour. Oh, Denzel gif. It's low, man. We're running out of juice for real. Oh, somebody said Carl Barks. Like, there's so many people, right? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. You guys started talking, and I missed a bunch of the stuff. All right. There's coffee check. Last thing I saw is Paul Pate has too many kids. Jared D says a large reason for my Lego collection these days is because I didn't have a childhood, which is something I'm revisiting now. But people will try to tell you that that's like you missed it. You can't go back home. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, JRD. I disagree. I say the nay. That's some straight nerd comic book stuff right there. And you know what? I saw this meme. Is it from that Winnie the Pooh movie about Salinger, right? Who was Milne, right? Who did Winnie the Pooh? Anyway, the Johnny Depp movie where the kid's sitting on the bench with him. And Johnny Depp says, one day when you're an adult, you'll be able to afford all the video. You can buy all the video games you want. And then the kid goes, really? And then he goes, yeah, but you won't have time to play them. Oh, it's so good. Jim Luhan's changing the subject. I hope we can get to this. Can you think of the reverse? A show that was good and gone way too soon? My vote is Police Squad. Yes, the precursor to Naked Gun. Yo, Leslie Nielsen's a treasure. I agree with that. That's my vote. I think also The Adventures of Beans Baxter was good. Like a lot of the early Fox shows. I think Parker Lewis Can't Lose might have been straddling the line there. Bill says, "Oh, shout out to Tom Zoller. Sip of coffee for my man TZ. You know Tom Zoller in these streets. Let me get my sippers up. Oh, is Sue still here? Suze, I have a surprise for you. Where are you, Suze? You got to raise your hand. Sip of coffee for TZ. We're going off script here, but remember a while ago when we are talking about crushes, like who was your celebrity crush? And Susan and JoJo were like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and I picked this out, and I forgot to put it on here. You mean this Ricky the Dragon Steamboat? Oh, Ricky. You mean this Ricky the Dragon? This Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Intercontinental Champion in good standing, Ricky Steamboat. I forgot to put those on the screen. That's so funny. That's for you, babe. Just drink that in. What? Wait, what was that you said, Ricky? No, you don't say. Tell me more about my eyes. That's for you, Suze. And while I'm at it, let's do a Seuss pose. There's your Seuss pose. Just Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. This show just went off the rails. Where is it? It's almost like he's not moving. Oh, that's fantastic. There you go. Thanks, Ricky. Appreciate that. That was a good look. Yes. Oh no. Stuck kids said my childhood crush was sorceress for He-Man. I could feel like that. I could feel that. It's all right, man. We're all good in our own way. All right. Let's see what else. We're talking about things that should have lasted but didn't. Millennium didn't make it to the Millennium. I don't remember that one. I will say, what was that? What was that last time travel show where they had a black dude? Well, there was a black dude in it, and I was just waiting to see how they were going to address that. I forget, like there's some organization built this giant time machine, and they were supposed to go back into important parts of history and, like, I don't know, survey it or something. I forget the name of that shit. Timeless, yes. Thank you, Chris Mariano. What's up, Chris? Chris, did you see the love we were giving you guys earlier? My boys, the Mariano brothers. I am the official, unofficial Mariano brother. I'm also a brother, and then I'm a brother. Yeah, so how did they address the black dude? Like when they go back in time and they're like, "You stay in the car." Like, how did that work? Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I was a big fan of Sliders, but Sliders kind of jumped the shark at the end. It didn't end. It didn't end well. I would love to see that kind of end better. Because if I can recall, I think the black dude Rembrandt. I think he didn't they like kill him off or something. I can't remember. Jardy says the black character was from Better Off Ted, which had an amazing episode about all the black employees not being observed by the company motion sensor. That's funny. And Chris talked about Timeless. He was a big part of the time, and it actually had a crazy ending. I thought the ending. Oh, so Timeless did end. Okay. I mean, that always sucks when the show just kind of ends dry. So, all right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. This is fun. I started thinking about maybe doing a Patreon fueled coffee break after party. I don't know how this will work, but you got to be a patron. You need to be a patronus in good standing to get on this. I'm still cooking this, but if you forgot how this works, let me put the joint on the screen. So I'm thinking not tonight because I haven't figured it out yet. So after we cut our live on coffee break, we go over to the private joint, and then we do our Soul Train dance. I don't know if you're into that. Let's talk about it. And if you're interested in joining me on the other side, great, good working with you, Dr. Vinkman. Become a patron of mine today. Patreon.com/Jamar Nicholas. I want to thank everybody for their eyeballs and their support. Group won't exist without you. We come to Tabernacle to get to sloth away the grime and dirt of the week. That's why we say our famous catchphrase, is it Thursday yet? As it's a miracle we got here again. And I, as your spiritual leader, vessel, internet safe space, and hairbrusher, salute you for it. You made it, guys. We made it again. Oh, I love it. Thank you, Paul Pate. Paul Pate, well, you got to do a tutorial. You got to do an electric football night. I think we'll be into that. You got to give me the 92 Eagles though. All right, you guys, thank you so much. We will be back here again. For anybody that is missing this, I guess you got to this point because you watched it already. This will go up on Patreon as a Friday refill. Also, we'll be back next week with another Pencil to Pencil Wednesday at 8 p.m. God willing, coffee break with JN will be back this time next week, Thursday at 9 p.m. EST. I need the shaft of light. Thank you guys so much. All right, you guys, let's go home. Tell them what to do, Suze. Tell them to say those goodbyes now, y'all. All right. Love you guys. Thanks so much. Let's go home. You've been watching Coffee Break with JN with your boy JN, aka the Grand Poobah of indie comics, the Black Dick Cavett, Johnny Carson, Captain Scholastic, your internet safe space, and as always, the captain of the ship, Jean-Luc Picard. Make it so. Tea, Earl Grey, hot. Great seeing you guys. Thank you so much. That's right. You need the kikank. P2P is back with the kikank, y'all. I love it. Yo, Kirk's Pencils. Like and subscribe, my man. You got to stay around. You got to thumb us up, subscribe, drop kick that alert. That's right. Kevin Scrapple in the building because bacon was taken. Thank you guys so much. I'm all over the place. I forgot my joint here. What happened here tonight? You got to hang out with cartoonist Jamar Nicholas, and you got to watch me drink this coffee and run my mouth. Now that I'm out of coffee, shout out to the coffee hound. Oh, that's too much. Pause. Video over. See you next week.